Hey guys, Watson here. So items are kind of the heart of the Mario Kart series, aren't they? I've seen a lot of people talk about the new changes to items or the new items in itself, but not many people have talked about the item distribution, when you get an item and how often you get one. And with the jump to 24 players, there's a lot to unpack here. Past games had different systems that determines what item you would get. And I'm a competitive Mario Kart player, so I know a thing or two about Mario Kart and like the more precise details. And I skimmed through hours of footage in preparation for this video to learn as much about the item distribution in this game, but I also observed some other more special things regarding items that I'm gonna mention later on in the video. So let's jump right in, shall we? So first up, let's talk about the actual item distribution in Mario Kart World. For that I have to explain the previous systems used in the Mario Kart series. There has been a position-based system up to Mario Kart 8, so every title before Mario Kart 8 used that, where the actual position that you were in when you got the item box determined what chance you have at pulling a certain item. And then in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they changed it to a distance-based system, where your distance to the first player determined what item you could get, and if the first player is like miles ahead, you could even get insane items in second place. While in the previous systems, you would just get a certain set amount of items in second place. So that means in Mario Kart 8, if you're very close to the first place, and even if you're in last place, you only get the chance to pull a mushroom at most. And that's actually the reason why I can make the case here that Mario Kart World uses a position-based system like in previous games, like in Mario Kart Wii for example. Because for one look at this clip, this player pulls a triple mushroom in third place and he's barely behind first place, and he pulls insane items for that. That would not be possible in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And since this is the final lap of a knockout tour, he's in second last place and more likely to just pull very good items. Also take a look at this clip for example. Here they pull a star in 6th place, also with 20 players, which is an insane pull already, but look at how far ahead the first place is. That's barely like 7-8 meters or something, and he pulls a star. That would have been maximum a shroom in Mario Kart 8. So I strongly believe we are back to a position-based system again. But what is the actual item distribution now that we've clarified that it's probably a position-based system? For that we take a look at Mario Kart Wii's distribution, because this is the game that is closest to the amount of players that we have in Mario Kart World that has a position-based system. And now you just could go ahead and double the positions and see if that applies, like for example something that you would pull in 6th place would now be pulled in 12th place and so on. And that is like a decent basis to get a feeling what you can pull in each spot in this game. Like the weaker items that you would pull in 1st to 3rd place in Mario Kart Wii, you can also pull in like 1st to 6th place in Mario Kart World, right? But I've also noticed that you can't really transfer the old item distribution as well to Mario Kart World, because I feel like in Mario Kart World you can pull very strong items very quickly. You just saw a star being pulled earlier in 6th place with 20 players. You could only pull a star in 8th place in Mario Kart Wii, and that would translate to what, 14th place if you scaled it up to 20 players? And also I've seen a golden being pulled in 10th with 24 players. If you just scale down the positions to Mario Kart Wii, that would be a golden being pulled in 5th place, which is crazy. And I strongly feel like you can pull better items quicker in Mario Kart World than in past titles that use the position-based system. Like with 24 players from 6th place onward, you can pull very strong items. And from 10th place onward, you have the chance to get like every good power item in this game, with the exception of maybe the shock and the bullet bill. And the 10th place would be the equivalent of a 5th place in Mario Kart Wii, and you would not pull items that strong in 5th place. But it makes sense, there's just twice as many players, so people in the back have just a harder time catching up, so you have to have better items more quickly in order to actually have a chance to get back to the top. And also the item distribution scales down accordingly, like in older games. Like in knockout modes, with each lap that passes 4 players just get eliminated, and once you're down to 12 players, the item distribution resembles Mario Kart Wii's item distribution way more than. And in past games, if you played against friends in private rooms or online, you sometimes had less than 12 players anyway, and the item system would scale accordingly, and that happens here too in Mario Kart World. So in the last lap with 4 players only left, you get insane items in 4th place, because that's the last place, right? Now that we clarified the item distribution system used in the game, I gotta talk about some other special cases that I observed while skimming through hours of footage. First, the first item box, or the early item box, is scripted differently again in Mario Kart World. In Mario Kart 8, in the first 20 and 30 seconds, you would just get less strong items all across the board. And in Mario Kart World it seems to be the same, at least if you run for an item immediately and you are in last place, the maximum that you can pull is a triple mushroom. Back in Mario Kart 8, the maximum that you could pull was a mushroom if you were just going for the item immediately and get it in last place. So there's a cap on the items for the early item boxes, which is timer based, probably the first 20 seconds or so again. Also, the item boxes spawn super fast again. I mean, it's pretty apparent, you can barely miss them, they can still get snatched away from you, but the timing is very tight. And I mean, they buffed it like crazy in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe already, that they respawn so much faster. Also, the food item is kind of a special case. If you get the food item box, you always get the food item, right? But there's actually 3 tiers of a food item, and it's based on your position, how likely you are to get like the better stages of it. Like the first stage is like barely half of a mushroom, the second stage is kind of a mushroom, but the third stage, that's a very long boost, kind of like 2 mushrooms boosts in a row. And in first place, I've only seen them pulling like a small first stage food item, because that would provide a lot of balancing issues if the first place would just reliably get mushrooms to take shortcuts, and we don't know if you can dodge a blue shell yet with that item. That would be a huge balancing issue, because the blue shell would just be so much worse, since first place always gonna have something to dodge. So I hope, and I don't think so, that you can dodge the blue shell with the food item. Also, another funny thing that I observed is someone pulled a double triple mushroom at some point. I mean, that was not really possible before. You've seen sometimes people pull double coins in Mario Kart 8, which was a glitch, so I don't know what happened here, if there's a glitch or intentional, because we didn't have that before, that you could pull the same item twice. Also, the blue shell, guys, at least in knockout mode, that is a menace. This thing comes almost guaranteed each lap. I've seen a clip of a player that got targeted 4 times by a blue shell in the first 3 laps of a knockout mode. So that's something you have to keep in mind, at least for that mode. And something else that I observed in later stages in the knockout mode, like when you only have 8 players or 4 players left, I've seen them barely pull certain items, especially new ones like the coin block or something. I have not seen it being pulled in the last 2 laps of a knockout tour, so maybe some items are just not in the item distribution anymore in the later laps of knockout tour. But I mean, for that item, the coin block, it makes sense, since I mean, you kind of don't want to have a coin item anymore in the last ditch of the tour, and you should have the maximum amount of coins anyway at that point. Also, people know by now that shrooms are on average super strong, and you can pull them literally anywhere, and also way further ahead than in previous games. Like, I've seen someone pull a golden in 10th place with 24 players. That would be a 5th place in Mario Kart Wii, right? And a golden is super strong. Pulling that in 10th place is insane. Also, triple mushroom, I've seen them being pulled as far ahead as in 4th place with 24 players. That would be 2nd place if you scaled it down to Mario Kart Wii, which is insane, because triple mushrooms are just such a good item in this game. Also, single shrooms, you can pull that anywhere except 1st place. So 2nd place mushrooms are back, and still a very good pull for 2nd place. But some of the new items are super rare to pull. Like, I looked at 3 hours of footage in preparation for this video. I've only seen the ice flower being pulled once. But also the coin block, and to some extent the gold shell, is a very rare item that barely gets pulled. I was surprised to see the hammer being the most commonly pulled new item, and it's mostly being pulled in 3rd place. That surprised me, because it seems like a strong item for 3rd place. And the gold shell was more commonly pulled in the back, like here in 15th place when there were only 16 players. And you would really rather want mushrooms in the back and not the gold shell, right? Also, the coin block is also being pulled more towards the back, which you kinda want to avoid, because you want those power items to get back in the front. Another interesting thing that I observed is when someone used a karmic item and you get transformed, your drift gets cancelled while you transform. So maybe if you're just smart about it, you can use the karmic item purposely in certain sections. Think about maybe Airship Fortress, the insane downward spiral, which is a very tight drift at the end. If you just use the karmic there, everyone's gonna lose their drift and be just completely thrown off their line and lose a lot of time doing that. Also, the boo item I've seen being pulled very far ahead too, like in 3rd place with 24 players, which is a pretty strong pull for 3rd, because you can use that to avoid a lot of things, potentially snag some shrooms and also dodge shock or other items. But overall there's still a tendency to get the strongest items all the way in the bottom spots, like the last 2 of them. Like the lightning I have not seen being pulled anywhere except the last 2 places. And maybe for the lightning there is a distance-based mechanic built into the game, so that you just don't pull the lightning when you're 10 meters behind first when the pack is super close together or something. Also, the Mega Mushroom in Mario Kart Wii was kind of a mid-pack item, but in Mario Kart World I've seen it being pulled more towards the back, like here in 16th place from 20 players. And lastly, the star is super rare. Like in the 3 hours of footage that I watched, I've only seen it being pulled 3 times or so. But it can be pulled very far ahead, even in 6th place if you remember the clip from earlier. Which for that position is an insane pull, and if you scale it down to Mario Kart Wii, that's 3rd place, right? A star in 3rd place, that's crazy. So maybe the star is kind of the lucky H replacement, a very rare item, but it can be pulled in a lot of different spots. So those were all the more special observations I could find looking through footage. What do you think about the item distribution in this game? Do you agree with my assessment that I made that it's a position-based system again? And if you observed other things, tell me in the comments below, I can't wait to discuss with you guys again. Also, I'm gonna create so much content for Mario Kart World, streams and videos, short form content, so definitely leave a sub to not miss any of it, because I'm gonna try out this game so much to try to become the best player possible. And I just can't wait to dive deep into this game. With that being said, have a good one, see you around guys, Watson out.